Just so you guys know, what I'm writing in my journal right now is basically something along the lines of, I've never tried anything else in the last 3 years that has made me feel better than this. Wide stance squats, whether it be horse stance or just flat out wide stance, SSB or whatever I'm doing, as long as it's wide stance squat, nothing has made me feel better than that. You guys know, some of you guys that have been listening to me, following my journey for a while, you know that I've been plagued by right hip pain for a very long time, on and off. This year has been the best run I've had. And this year, I started off with doing lots and lots of bodyweight squats. Now, these bodyweight squats are wider than my normal barbell squats. When I squat with a barbell, it's very narrow. It's basically within shoulder width apart. I can't squat like that body weight. I tip back and I fall backwards. So I have to spread my stance a little wider, and that's how I did thousands of reps. January, February, March, I want to say these 3 months I did thousands of reps every week. Along with the push-ups, it was the calisthenics phase. I wanted to kind of go away from heavy weights and just do that. So I don't think it's a coincidence that I've been feeling really well. Now that I'm doing these wide stance barbell squats and also horse stance, I'm now revisiting how amazing it feels to be in this position. The first 2 or 3 months of the year, I concluded it's the high reps. I don't think it's so much the high reps. I think it's just basically wide stance. That's what makes me feel good. So even if I was to do a heavy set of 5 or whatever, I would have to recalibrate that, because a heavy set of 5 in wide is completely different to a heavy set of narrow. I'm much weaker with wide. So a heavy set of 5 is basically 100 kilos. That's a heavy set of 5 for me in the wide. So the musculature which is responsible for moving weight when you have the wide stance is completely underdeveloped in me. And I think it's that underdevelopment, it's that weakness which has somehow manifested itself in a right hip pain. Now, I've had suspicion that the right hip pain was referred pain. I thought it was originating somewhere, maybe from the glute, maybe from the piriformis, maybe from even the quad. Connecting to the ITB. If you think about the TFL on one side of the top portion and the glute both inserted into the ITB, go straight down the knee. So I thought it was that. Now I'm thinking it has to do something with the adductors. And I've had suspicion about that for a little while, but I couldn't really pinpoint it. Now that I know that really wide stance is making me feel well, it has to do something with the adductors. Or, this is where I'm kind of having a second thought again, maybe it's something to do with the glutes. Maybe the glutes is what's happening here, because the glutes are also working in a different angle when you're in the wide. I can't explain to you, man. Like, the way I feel right now is so loose in my hips. It is so comfortable. I can't explain it. Like, last night I went to bed and I'm like, man, I feel so good through the hips. Oh, that's the other thing. I'm feeling my anterior pelvic tilt is restoring. It's coming back because of the wide stance. So that's another big thing. So a lot of these things I feel like are connected. Anterior pelvic tilt, hip pain, the narrow stance, all of that movement pattern, it's all kind of one. And when you start unpacking some of this stuff and you go, okay, let's take it to wide, all of a sudden the glutes and the adductors are working through a different range of motion, a different loading, and there's balance, and you start to feel really nice. Last night in bed, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking about this, and I start to do this business, rotating my leg in and out. I can't really show you like this. Maybe I can. Hold on. I started testing my internal hip rotation. Right. So remember this. So in the past, I would lift my leg up like this. I'll hold it like this, and I'll rotate it out, and this is what all I would have. Or sometimes I wouldn't even have this much range of motion, like in terms of internal hip rotation. Now, watch this. Look at this. I'm not shifting anything else but this. I mean, this is a huge improvement. That's the external. This is the internal. And what have I changed? I've changed nothing other than I haven't been stretching. Well, this is a little bit tighter. But this is, like I'm telling you, some days I would come out here and I would try to squat, and this is all I would have, just here. Watch this. It's so much better. And we are talking about like a few days of doing horse stance and a few days of kind of messing around with wide. When I'm talking about wide, I'm actually talking about really, really wide, like Louis Simmons wide. Stuff that I used to laugh at back in the day, like, look at that squat, revolting. But now, after all this time, I think I've learnt my lesson. I wish this wasn't the case. I wish you could just do narrow until the cows come home and you're sorted, but it's not the case. For whatever reason, Louis is right. Wide stance is right. It's the better way to squat. It's not as aesthetic. It does not get you the depth, but it gets you something which narrow cannot. And so wide does everything. Narrow only does something. So this is why they always say that if you are really good at wide, whether it's sumo or whether it's wide stance squats, that is going to transfer over to conventional and narrow stance squats. But you take that reverse, like me, I've hated going wide. Sometimes I want the heels to touch, because that's sexy as hell, man. I love that. Take somebody like me, I feel so unstable going wide. I feel so weak in sumo. Like most people would say that sumo deadlift is easier for everybody. You can do more. Not me. Can't do it. Feel horrible. So whatever the missing link is, I'm not sure which musculature is at fault here. What's actually the rate limiting step in all of this? I can't identify the structure. All I know is that when you go wide, I feel, even with a horse bloody stance, no weight, I feel more quad activation, I feel more glute activation, and I feel more adductor activation. Think about that. So what is narrow actually doing? I think the only thing that narrow is doing, it's sending you into a hingy type of squat, and that is training your lower back. It's training your lower back, and I dare say it trains your hamstring really well, and probably a whole host of fibers of the glutes, but it's different. You know, maybe the wide is targeting more of that mid and min glutes. It's probably also maximus glutes as well. I'm not sure what the division is, but basically there has to be fibers which are activating more or less in different styles. But definitely I feel the quads more in wide, which is interesting. Really, really interesting. So just wanted to say that, share it with you guys. There's no point in me writing in the book some groundbreaking stuff that I really feel strongly about and not tell you guys. So if you are somebody that is dealing with some sort of hip pain like me, on and off, you gotta try wide stance, man. You gotta drop the ego, drop that powerlifting. I'm an Olympic weight lifter, I can't do this shit, blah, blah, blah. Drop all that crap and start doing wide stance. And you will start to feel the adductors, the glutes, the hip flexors, your anterior pelvic field starts to fix. Everything starts to kind of go back to normal. The only thing I can think of is narrow stance squatting has allowed me to have really good deadlifting. I feel really solid, leaning over. And that's because of the constant movement patterns involving a hingy type movement. So, I'm squatting like a hinge. And when I go to the deadlift, it's like, oh, this is second hand. This is second hand, second nature. It's just so easy. It feels freaking amazing. Yesterday I did 10 sets, I believe, and then I did 5 after of horse stance of 30 seconds. This morning I did 15 sets this morning before I even walked out here. And I'm walking around and I feel like my gait, so my as I'm kind of pushing my leg back, I feel like I have more range in my hip flexors. And I feel like I'm walking kind of more effortlessly. It's like the glutes are now able to engage fully and through a more range of motion because the hip flexors at the front are long because I've went into a wide stance squat. So I'm going to continue doing this. Every other day I'm gonna do an SSB wide stance squat at various different heights of the box. And on the other days I will be doing like my normal kind of front squat or back squat or something along those lines. And I'll continue to do the horse stance whenever I can throughout my day, just to continuously remind my muscle this is a stance that we are happy with. Anyway guys, I'll show you here what I did today. Really light stuff. I took 60 kilos on the bar of SSB and I went really wide, and I did 10 sets of 10 with that. And the whole time I was focusing knees out, knees out, knees out, knees out. Because if I put on another plate, then it becomes too heavy and my knees start to collapse in and I start to go into a hinge. So it needs to be a really light weight for me to kind of overcome, so I can do this and squat like this rather than squat like this. Because this is how I want to squat when the weights get heavy, go into a hinge. So I need to select, and probably you as well, you need to select a weight which you can, spread your knees, spread your chest and go vertical. That's kind of what I was achieving with the lightweight. Now it seems like really lightweight because my max is 212, but in this stance, my max is way lower than that. Like I'm nowhere near it. Anyway guys, hope that helps. Appreciate you. Catch you in the next one. Peace out.